Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Telmix broadcast. My name is Katie Roberts, and as you know, we run these broadcasts every month, and it's great to have you back joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you've seen many of these broadcasts before, then you'll know that these broadcasts are really put together all for the intention of giving some great ideas, advice, tips to people considering independent consulting or those who are already in independent consulting to kind of facilitate that process a little bit more. So welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. So just so that you're aware, this video is being recorded, or this broadcast is being recorded, and will be available on the Telmix YouTube channel soon after. So if you do want to watch it again, or if you want to share it with some of your colleagues, you will be able to do that as well. And obviously you can access that through the Telmix, whoops, sorry, I just bumped the screen. You can access that through the Telmix Resources Center on our website as well. Right, so today we are talking all about networking, but not networking in the old sense of the word. We're talking about something that is far more valuable and important to especially people in consulting and independent consultants. The network as a source of business opportunity, as a source or a foundation of building future prospects and developing your independent career. And I'm joined by two wonderful people that have been in consulting for many years, people who are absolute pros at this, that know this topic better than I would ever hope to do. I'm joined by Kush Dillon. Kush, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm joined by Gordon McPherson as well, who's joining us from up north of the country, I believe. So Kush, I wonder if you can just take 2 minutes or even a minute, however long you feel, and just give us a little bit of background into what you do and how you got into consulting.
Sure, absolutely, Katie. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
That's good. That's always a good start, isn't it? Hello, everybody on this podcast. So yes, my name is Kush Dillon, and I, at the moment, I'm working as a consultant for a big SI, service integrator. But previously, I was contracting and worked as an independent consultant. So my background is a diverse range of industries, everything from pharmaceuticals to recruitment to automotive industry, banking, etc. So I've come from many different backgrounds, jack of all trades, master of none, as they say. And really, I'm really excited to join this particular podcast because networking is a particular of interest of mine, and something that I think that we all talk about, but not necessarily do well. So I'm really looking forward to giving you my little bits of advice.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kush. And Gordon, tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you are doing in consulting, and a little bit of your background.
Hi, certainly. I'm MD of the Retailer Group, which is a growing business-to-business consultancy. The business was formed in 1999 in Scotland. The fact that I'm Scottish shouldn't be confusing. I'm based in the south, just south of Cirencester, and have been for around 20 years now. So the company was formed by Gordon Bell, who I've worked with, and I'm his partner, and he's been my mentor over the last decade or so. My history, I guess, I worked for high street brands in the UK and internationally, House of Fraser and Jessops as examples, and also engaged with a number of luxury retail brands and set up a business in New York, London and Hong Kong. More recently, I've operated in Brazil, which was an experience in itself, working at Rio 2016, delivering the premier official memorabilia online auction for Vancouver-based Pursuit 3 Group. So the retailer has three main streams out with the high street. Supplier of consultancy services to the National Union of Students. We've got a strong foothold in destination retail, Bristol Zoo being an example, a current project, and sports retail, as I've mentioned, which is predominantly around big retail events for Vancouver-based Pursuit 3. So that's, in a nutshell, my journey over the last 10 years. A truly independent career and a steep learning curve, and I guess we'll cover some of that learning in the broadcast, Katie.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Gordon, for that. Great. So I'm going to jump straight in, and I'm going to start with you, Kush, if that's okay. So we're talking, as I said, we're talking about networking, and not, I know that the word networking often makes people run a mile, either bores or annoys or scares off many of the professional folk. But we're not talking about networking in the oldest sense of the word. We're talking about this new networking that forms the cornerstone of most independent consultants and any consultant, really, their worlds. So as a consultant yourself, Kush, how has a strong network helped you in your journey so far?
Yes, networking is one of those odd words. I think it's so faded now that almost when we hear it, we cringe internally. So I agree with you that this is about a new networking opportunity, and let me put a new kind of acronym into the hypersphere. So we all know what the ROI means, return on investment. And really, when I think of networking, or as I like to call it, connecting with people, connection building, relationship building, is I think of ROR. So I think of return on relationship. So it's not a phrase that I coined, but it's a phrase that I think that it's going to be more prevalent in kind of growing of businesses. So how has networking specifically helped me? Well, I don't think I can quantify how it's helped me. I know I can qualify how it's helped me. So what it's helped me to do is it's helped me to reach out to people that I wouldn't otherwise have connected in with. It's allowed me to build an understanding of my fellow SMEs and how what is happening and how to engage people, not just my own peer group, but what's happening in other parts of the industry, especially when you're an independent consultant. You are your own learning, you drive your own learning. And also it's really helped me in understanding what I can actually offer other people. So I know we're going to talk about the practicalities later on, but I think there's first a couple of questions you have to ask about networking. There's always the question around the kind of battle between being an introvert and being an extrovert. So networking is always seen as something as well. Loud people get in a room together, slap each other in the back and pass around business cards. And we've all been in a situation where we've been in an event or we've been at somewhere where we basically come back with a fan of business cards of people saying, I can do this for you and call me if you want this. So I think the first kind of tenet or the first pillar of networking should be really, what can I give to you? You know, what can I do for you? And that really comes idea of return on relationship is what you can do for them and not what they can do for you. So that is kind of, so yeah, there's no quantifying of what my network has done for me. It certainly has helped me in building business and getting work. So, I've got a few practical tips that I'll come back to.
Great, excellent. Thank you for that, Kush. Nice and detailed. So, Gordon, if I had to ask the same question of you, what has been your personal experience of your own within your own personal and professional network, especially when it comes to consulting and a strong network? Oh, you're on mute. I think you're on mute still. The beauty of a live broadcast. Gordon is still quiet. We still cannot hear Gordon. All right, Gordon, I tell you what, I'll come back to you on that question. I'll ask Kush a quick question and then beautiful. There you go. Okay. You see, this wouldn't be fun if it wasn't, if it didn't have its trials and tribulations. So there you go. Gordon, over to you.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, I think I had a strong network. It was maybe larger than I thought when I found myself in the position of needing to use my network to develop business. And I think it's about measuring business. It's about relationships and friendships for sure. But I think it's about measuring the business that comes in from the output of working with your network. And I think for me, a business comes in from the website, it comes in from LinkedIn, which is actually quite strong, or it comes from personal recommendations. And that can be also maybe talking at trade shows or writing articles for magazines. That can be a way of networking and getting new relationships. The first network event I went to led to quite a long relationship. I don't particularly enjoy going to networking events. I don't think a lot of people do. But we cemented a good relationship there through meeting some colleagues who I knew before and some new people. And that relationship lasted almost 10 years, are still going strong. Strong now. One of the golden rules at these things is not to drink too much, and we let that one go in this particular event, but not something we do too often. But I must say this was an exception, and it led to a very strong business relationship. So I think moving on from the corporate world, it taught me that I need to cherish my network and keep in touch and keep building the relationships. And it's not about trying to do the hard sell or asking for a job. I think it's about, for me, that doesn't work. I think it's about helping other people, and the more that you help other people, they come back and help you. I mentioned there earlier about writing for an internal publication. I did one fairly recently and had some real great feedback from it. And I had one or two people contact me and said, I didn't realise how well your business had moved on. So finding time's always a challenge, I think, but I'm sure we'll cover that later on in the broadcast.
Absolutely. And I think you touch on something really important there is I hadn't realized how you'd moved on. The thing is, everybody's busy in their own lives. You know, it's not like they sit and watch you all the time. So by being actively engaged in your network, you serve as a source of reminder all the time. And so that's a really, really good point. I wanted to stay with you for a second. I often hear from consultants who have taken the step from full-time employment towards independent consulting, you know, and sometimes even later in their lives, where they suddenly wake up to the fact where they think, you know, they realize the importance of a strong network, but maybe they haven't actually taken the time to build their network. You know, what advice would you give to someone who has found themselves now, you know, starting a new career, even perhaps later in their lives, and are faced with the situation that I need to build my network, I need to do something and quickly? What advice? Where would they start? What would you tell them?
Well, I think it's a good point, and I think I certainly went through that process and realisation of the power of the network over the last 10 years or so. And I think actually the most significant thing for me is maybe slightly off track is the fact about having a brand to promote your business. I think if you are somebody like June Lawler Associates, who maybe some of you know, she's fairly big in London and in Europe, then you can call yourself June Lawler Associates. And I think I'd like to think I had a big enough name, but to have Gordon McPherson Associates, I don't think out with my personal group does too much at all. So I think it's about having a brand, and I use the retailer group. I'm a partner in that business, so I use that to promote through my network and the activities that we do. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and he was thinking of setting up his move to an independent career, and he was going to call himself Steve Bluff Associates. I've known him for 10 years, and you know, a good guy. But we talked about setting up a brand, and he went away, researched it, spent some time on it, and now has created a brand called Encourage, which is all about coaching and mentoring people. So his next step is obviously to move to a website. So I think for me, there's a big part first off, which is about thinking about how you want to project yourself. And there's so many people out there, some successful, granted, but there's so many people out there calling themselves by the name and associates. I think you need a brand and brand values to hang your hat on.
Good. That's a very good point. And one that I do believe we also touch on when some of our other broadcasts where we talk about, you know, marketing yourself as a new independent brand. So good point. Kush, anything that you wanted to add to what Gordon has just said?
No, I think, yes, I think Gordon's points are absolutely right about your brand. You definitely need to know who you are and what you represent. So about waking up and saying, oh, I've made that move from a 9-to-5 job to having to go on my own. That is quite scary. And also, if you're not used to networking and you're just used to being in a job and everybody's around you, you don't know where to start. So the first thing I would do is absolutely, as Gordon said, find out who you are and what your company does. Almost get your elevator pitch ready. Spend some time to put those words together, those paragraphs together. And it's not, again, my whole idea of return on relationship. It's not about this is what I can do for you. Make your elevator pitch where you would like to work, what areas you'd like to work in, your previous experience, and what you can provide to somebody else, how you can help somebody. And that's the first start, because it really clarifies in your mind what you're trying to do. And also, it's an easy piece of work that anybody can do, regardless if they're used to networking with lots of people or not. It's something that you can have ready at your fingertips. But that information, that elevator pitch, is another word that's extraordinarily sales related, but just make sure that you're very happy in what you're doing in your brand. And then what I would say next is market segment your networks, your contacts that you have now. So when you wake up, we don't wake up with, oh, we don't have a network. We have family, we have people we know, we have friends and business. Spend time give yourself a day, 2 days within your life as an independent consultant to just write down everybody's names or list everybody's names and segment them. And I usually segment them in 3 ways. I segment them into my expert network, which is my peers network, the SMEs I have out there, people I read their blogs, or I know that they're really good in a particular area in business, and they're not necessarily, I'm not independent consultants. They could be people I've worked with or people that I have in my social life. I also segment it in a services network. So these are people that I get services from. These are people who do my printing on my business cards, or these are the people that I would go to find out information about other consultants that I would bring into a bid, or I'd bring into a piece of work, or I'd recommend. They're kind of my service network. They help me in quid pro quo. And then finally, there's my client network, which is my prospects, my leads, people that I'm going to target. So that's just a little bit of practical advice on how to just wake up first thing and say, actually, instead of going out there and flooding the internet with what I can do, and obviously using Telmex as a fantastic resource to get work, I'm actually going to spend a day or 2 days looking at the people I know, segmenting them, market segmenting them, finding out what can I do for them, what can they do for me. And then I think the next step is reaching out to those people. And also, I know we're going to talk about later some more practical skills around that kind of giver mentality. What can I do for them? Hopefully get that return on the relationship.
Beautiful. And then, I mean, beautiful. And then, whoop, I got a bit of echo. Who's hearing me?
There's an echo.
There's an echo. If you could just mute yourself, there you go, beautiful. Kushan, just following on from that, I think you lead beautifully into the next question I had, which was really, okay, so you realize you need to build this network. That's great, but what do you do when you need to re-engage a stagnant network? So you have maybe neglected a network, or you've just kind of let things go. What are some of the practicalities when it to turn a stagnant network into an engaging, opportunity delivering tool for you as a consultant?
That is such a valuable question. So a little bit before, when you have a staged network, this whole idea of market segmentation and looking at who's in your network should be a one-off piece of work. It should be something that you're continually doing. So what I would do for practical tests, like anything, a network needs to be fed. So as Gordon touched on, you have your social media network. So you reach out to people via LinkedIn, email, Twitter, telephone, Facebook, events, blogs, etc. So what I would do when for one, I have to come and reinvigorate my network, is firstly I would make sure that I'm feeding all the social media different omni channels to reach out to them. So exactly that, I'm putting a blog or a link on my Twitter or my LinkedIn to say, this is what I've been up to, this is what I'm thinking about now, this is things I'm interested in. And there's loads of buzzwords at the moment as independent consultants that we can have an opinion on. We can have an opinion on the Internet of Things. We can have an opinion on how AI is going to change machine learning, or how it's going to change the way that we operate. So that's really important. Feed your network who have been starved of you, of something that you've been doing or you've done. And then it's also looking at them and talking about fast track and slow track. So we know that there are certain people in the network that you want to reach out to because they may have work for you. So again, look at your segmentations and look at who are the immediate people you should reach out to. By a telephone, can we meet for tea or coffee? And give yourself like any business, give yourself a social budget, X amount to spend on buying that coffee for somebody after work or during their lunch hour, and going out to see them and saying, look, this is what I've been up to. Is there any way I can help you? Or, you know what, I've heard through the grapevine that you're having some problems here. There's some advice I can offer. So that's another way of reinvigorating some key pieces in your network. And then finally, it is about the quality, not the quantity. It's not about having the biggest network in the world. There's a story that I've said very clearly from Warren Buffett, who's one of the richest men in the world. So it's usually a good story to repeat to. So he said the best $50, the best $50 he ever spent was going to Dale Carnegie training. And Dale Carnegie wrote the book Win Friends and Influence People. He said it was $50, and he was taught in that meeting to always smile when he meets people, always ask them how they are, and talk about their family, and remember them. And everybody has to remember.
You were just cutting out there for a second, Kush. So you were saying always smile, always remember people.
Yes, absolutely. So always take that time out to be yourself, be a person, be an individual, because you don't need to have all the work in the world. You just need to do one piece of work as an independent consultant and less time when you're downtime. And people remember each other because psychologically we remember happy, nice, giving people. We want to surround ourselves with those clever, interesting individuals and be that person. And again, it goes back to, for me, to be that giver mentality and those practical bits of advice where, again, social media, if you're going to be on Twitter, tweet every day. If you're going to be on LinkedIn, write an article every day. So I think it's really reinvigorate your network is re-looking at them and seeing what else you can provide to them, and then hopefully the returns will come.
Beautiful. And Gordon, when it comes to the practicalities of how you manage your network, whether you engage with them daily or whether you select a few that you build on, etc., what are some practicalities that you can share when it comes to nurturing a potentially neglected network?
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing challenge, actually. I think it needs rejuvenating all the time. And the people that I speak to that work independently, they say they can become very busy and then they can't cope with looking after their network and the business side of things. So I think that's one of the most difficult things. I try to use simple things like downtime in the car, phone a few people, just to set a target of I'm going to speak to 5 people this week and use the downtime in the car to get to them. I think posting maybe once or twice a week. Some people can post every day, which is great, as Kush said, but maybe once or twice a week is enough. And through some recent research I was doing, looking at video seems to be the big thing at the minute and is attracting more clicks than anything else. So I'm working with a company called A Smart Production, local here to me, and they're working with me on a project that we're doing in Greenwich Student Union University there, and we're building a shop from scratch and we're capturing that on video we started about a month ago, and we're just doing lots of little snippets. So I think it's finding new ways. There's the basic things, using the time in the car, making sure you connect to people, but I think there's new ways developing all the time, and I think videos seems to be it at the minute, and that seems to be the hot thing. But spinning plates is certainly the difficult thing, especially when you're busy, but you just can't afford to let it drop off your radar, is my thinking on it anyway.
I think, you touch on something as well. It's, in my opinion, it's certainly about being in the present. So thinking about what you're doing now and how you can capture what you're doing now that could potentially be used at some point. It's no good when you're done and everything's finished thinking, we should have made a video, we should have done this, we should have, it's kind of thinking all the time, being present and thinking, well, how can I use this to share with people? How is this relevant to people? So thinking broader. Kush, very quickly, we did a broadcast a little while ago, which gave tips on how independent consultants can better market themselves. And one of the things we discussed was this notion of establishing your niche and setting yourself up as a thought leader in your market or your industry or your organization. When it comes to making your profile stand out as a consultant, what is your advice of practical things that consultants can do to become recognized for what they represent within their network?
Such a valid question again. Thought leadership, another buzzword. So what is thought leadership? Thought leadership is essentially saying, this is my viewpoint on the world. This is my viewpoint on this particular technology or this particular process. This is how I would do something. This is what I think the future is. And for me, credibility. So regardless of if you've done lots of work or you're new to independent consulting, you base every single piece of work that you do based on what you've done previously and your credibility. So to improve your credibility, thought leadership, and providing these that doesn't have to be particularly long, but for providing this kind of insight into what you see is coming, really helps establish your credibility. The other thing it does is it allows you, hopefully through becoming an influencer, to understand exactly what you can provide somebody else and where your sphere of influence is. So what I mean by that is that very much a case of seeing, as you said, Katie, being present and seeing what's happening now, what's needed now. So the practical skills around thought leadership is a couple of mind maps together, put yourself in the center of it, or put some industry in the center of it that you worked in, and map out where do you think that business is going. Map out where your business is going in 5 years, what you want to be involved in around your sphere of influence, and then write about the different things that kind of stand out to you. So an example is buzzword is a lot to do with machine learning at the moment, machine working, and people trying to figure out all these technologies around them, but they have no way of applying it. So if you have a perspective, or you've done something like that before, put that out there, and don't think of it as you losing your IP, your intellectual property, that you're just giving all your ideas away. Think about it as you might be giving your point or perspective in, but still people have to take that and actually apply it to their business and make things happen. And that's where you come in. You can help to provide that kind of and how to make things done. And just another point I just was thinking about and wanted to bring up is that a lot of people like synthesis. So a lot of people like you to go away, and so part of thought leadership is thinking about things and saying, I'm going to reach out to my networks, and I'm not going to say, oh, this is what I can do for you. I'm going to say to them, so how's that been going? What's your problems at the moment? What issues do you have? And you know what? Go away and think about them. And then come back to those people and say, look, actually, I've had a thought about this. I know you touched upon it briefly, but I just thought maybe this is another way of you doing this piece of work. Or, actually, I have some buddies through Telmex, other independent consultants that I know have done this piece of work. Let me get you connected with them. In a way, you should think of yourself as a hub. You are somebody that not just takes work in, but you also pass those connections freely to other people, and you are providing that information to them. It's a classic thing. If you want to get involved in, if you want to have a big network, the easiest way is to talk to somebody else who has a big network.
Exactly.
And by doing that, making those connections, you can make things happen. So I think thought leadership is a buzzword, but essentially it means thinking about what you can offer, thinking about what you do, and putting that out there and providing those snippets of insight to other people.
Absolutely, and adding that value. And Gordon, when it comes to networking, I'm sure you've got lots to add to that. So I'll give you a chance for that as well. But when it comes to networking, it's so often forgotten that how one behaves online is not too dissimilar, or to how you would in a face-to-face environment, for example. So whether you're building your network through social media or industry forums, or whether you're attending physical events and meeting face-to-face, what are some of your do's and don'ts when it comes to building networking know-how?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think there's two questions you've asked there, Katie. And the first one, I think, I agree with what Kush said. It's about putting yourself out there, and I think it's a bit like a spider's web. The more work you do, the bigger it gets, and the network and the exposure increases. And I think even doing some voluntary work, actually, if there's some charity that needs some support, I think helping them can indeed bring you on to new contacts. And I think that the other thing, the last thing to mention on that is, I think I've stopped pushing at closed doors. I think now it's about, if you want to go to somebody and I'm a consultant, I'm here to help you, then you can meet a bit of a door. But if you're meeting with people and talking with them, then sometimes it makes it much easier to push the open door. So I think certainly my experience is about helping people and getting out there as much as you can. With regards to the sort of behaviour, I think I'm quite amazed, actually. I see people post on social media and they maybe talk about, get involved in strands about politics, religion, a cyclist via a car driver, and I think, whoa, that's really going to damage your brand. I saw a friend of mine actually posted something the other day that was so off message for his business that I had to had to give them a call and say, look, you really don't want to be doing that, because you may indeed offend somebody. I think the thing to remember is, once it's on the net, it's on the net. So best stay professional, and then anything you do or say or type will not damage your brand. So I think it's all about reflecting your values in the way that you deal online.
Absolutely. I mean, those lines have become so blurred that you cannot, you can't, we don't live in an age anymore where you can have a rigid, well, this is me after hours and this is me during hours, because people look at your whole brand.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what time of day is it or night it is. Kush, anything to add? We have literally 1 minute left, but anything to add to what Gordon has just been said before I pass over to both of you for your final thoughts?
Wow. So I absolutely agree with Gordon. So basically, make the best impression you can. You are not the only person in the universe with an opinion. Make sure when you provide opinions and you provide insight that you're not offending anybody. I mean, I don't have to say anybody. We're all grown-ups on this line. Also make sure that, we're talking about business in the UK, but through your social network you can reach out globally, and things are happening globally that you can report on. That's another place where you can find great information. If you go out to Italy or the States or Australia and find out what they're doing and how they're capable of building their networks, or what business ideas are happening, you can retweet them and bring them to the UK market. And finally, I think for me, just around kind of those practical tips about how to present yourself, is that absolutely right. You have to put time aside in your week to do this. It is not something that is easy, and it should be a part of your day-to-day job. Same as you look on your email for an hour a day, or you do your accounts in a day. There should be an hour, half an hour where you are going to look at your social and your networking opportunities. And I think that way it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you become more confident in what you can do.
And I suppose you start to recognize the stuff that you can spend your time on that is going to yield results, as opposed to trying to be everything to everyone and just give up hope at the end of the day.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, businesses don't buy from other businesses. Buildings don't buy things from other buildings. People buy from people. And if you can engage with as many people as quality-wise as you can, and you can also spend time learning yourself, who you are, what you're going to bring, and being kind of your own thought leader for yourself, it will just make you more confident in networking environments. And also, just picking up a point that Gordon said, it really is, you can't really you can do a piece of work, but then you want them to remember you. You want them to linger on. You don't just want to be an escalator of consultants. And so what I would say is just know your brand, know who you are, and just be really confident in your niche. You don't have to be everything for everybody. Just be happy to know that what you're doing, and know that the small bits and pieces you do every day for networking is going to make an effect. You might not see it immediately, but it is going to be make an effect.
Wonderful. Thanks, Kush. Gordon, final thoughts from you before I close for today.
Okay, final thoughts. Thank you for inviting me to participate. It's been a pleasure speaking with you over the last couple of days. And it's great to see Telmax grow and expand as a brand over the last few years. And I was delighted actually to pick up an assignment with you just the other week, which is fantastic.
Oh,
in terms of the subject we're discussing today, if anyone out there is listening would like to make contact, I'm on LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect. And just really to wish everyone well in their endeavours, networking and building their business. And like anything, the more effort you put in, the more you get back, and the more you help others, the more likely they will repay the compliment. So good luck with it, and thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gordon. Kush, final thought from you before I close.
Again, thank you very much. Telmax is a great business, great company, and I would say to everybody, it's somebody you can they themselves have great networking events. And again, as with Gordon, please reach out to me. I'm sure me and Gordon have huge networks ourselves, and we're more than happy to get you connected. And finally, my final thought is, again, networking again is a buzzword, and maybe there's nothing on this particular podcast that you found is revolutionary. But what I think we're trying to say is that we're trying to easily say to everybody is that it can be hard work, and it can take a lot of time, and it may not pay the dividends straight away. Your return on your relationship may not happen straight away. but it's a journey, and don't think that some of the biggest people in the world, some of the people with the most entrepreneurial spirit, still have to go through this process of reaching out, talking, building their brand, understanding what people want, and it's a process, and just think quality, not quantity. And yeah, best of luck with everything, and please reach out to me if you need anything. And thank you, Kate.
Thank you, Kush, and yeah, I mean, certainly from Telmix, we couldn't do anything as well as we could without our incredible consultants. So you guys are a very big part of that recipe. But Gordon and Kush, thank you so much for being here today, for your time. Appreciate it. I know you're very busy people. For our viewers at home, thank you very much for joining in. This will be available soon after on Twitter, or you can access it directly through our blog, our resources section on our website. We will be holding another broadcast next month, so keep an eye on your inbox and our social media, and we'll let you know more about that soon. But further than that, as Kush and as Gordon has said, good luck with your networking. Share some of your stories with us. Tell us how you're getting on. We'd love to hear from you. So have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are, and we'll see you in September. Take care.